This is considered as one of the foundational courses of our Asian Open RAN Academy. OpenFlow, SDN, and NFV. This one is created by Noel and myself. Now, it offers the foundations of the OpenFlow protocol and its use and functionality in software-defined networking. So this morning, no, Noel did discuss to you more on the networking aspect, which is actually one of the modules, well, in fact, two of the modules that this course will be covering. But apart from that, after we have already established the foundations of IP networking in general, we'll take it now one step further and we'll now apply it in software-defined networking. Specifically, its practical uses both in the IP and telecommunication environments. Now, ever since the transition of our telecommunications towards to IP, no, the talk of having everything that is from traditional, I'm not sure if you're still familiar of the 1E and the E1 and the T1 transports that we have back then. Nowadays, everything is still dependent on purely on analog signals. No, nowadays we are already transitioning to everything as software defined. No, back then it was still only the norm of our IT telcos, IT space, but now it's also transitioning to telcos, and that's what this course would be focusing on. Primarily, not just open flow in itself, but also software-defined networking in general, which is a subset of open flow, as well as network functions virtualization, which is NFV. Okay. Now, this course, it is in general 8 modules in total. No? Now, these 8 modules are extensive in a way that the first two would be focusing more on software-defined networking. Well, introductory modules, so to speak. First on IP, and then immediately to the basics of software-defined networking. Now, in the succeeding modules, no, for module 3, module 4, it would then be discussing what OpenFlow is about and how it is being used in software-defined networking, SDN. We'll focus here also on its different use cases. You'll see also that later, no, when I give you a run through on the course via Learning Hub, I'll give you there also some resources on where you can further deep dive into what the topic is about. Now, for Module 5 and Module 6, we'll veer away in for now on software-defined networking, and we'll focus on the second part, which is network functions virtualization, NFV. Module 5 will focus on virtualization as its technology. And then it would be built up more when we now discuss NFV. Okay, notice the pattern in our modules. No? In Module 1, it is an introductory course followed by Module 2. Then Module 3 and 4 are somewhat related. It's because for you to understand what SDN is, you need also first to understand the concepts behind the protocols running or supporting SDN. And this is where OpenFlow would come in. Okay. Module 5 and 6 are also interrelated because for you to understand what NFV is, you need to understand its key technology, which is virtualization. Okay. Then lastly, in Module 7 and 8, this is more of like a conglomeration of all of those different modules already interworking together to form already SDN and NFV. Okay, so in Module 7, we'll discuss the relationship and its use cases. And finally, we'll now explore a deeper dive in one of the applications of SDN and NFV, which is core network evolution. No? Notice also that unlike in our previous modules in the previous course, the focus is really more on the wireless access component. This is purely more on core. No? Again, the objective here is for you guys to have an understanding, not just on the wireless access part, but also to have an understanding how it interconnects to the other domains of our telecommunications space. Okay. Now, the entire course, it has 2, 4, 6, 8 learning outcomes. So first, hopefully by the end of the course, you would be able to understand what software-defined networking is. You'll be able to understand the difference between control plane and data plane, which is used in the SDN environment. So kudos to you guys who are able to get the pre-test results a while ago on what is the control plane, the data plane, and then the application plane. Um, but this one would be discussed later on once you start working on with the course. Other learning outcomes here state the different use cases where SDN may be used. This applies both in the enterprise and in the telco environments. SDN kasi in itself, it's not just constricted or it's not just limited to being applied in the telecommunications sector. Like, contrary, in fact, no, it began or it has its roots back then in the IT space, in that enterprise environment, before eventually being adapted into the telco environment. And yun yung magiging discussions natin throughout the course din, yung mga use cases where SDN can be applied. No? Apart from that, we'll define also what is open flow as a protocol and its practical uses in SDN. The reason why we introduced to you open flow as an introductory protocol, because number one, the protocol is open source. Okay? It is also one of the most commonly used protocols in an SDN controller and in SDN environment, apart from others such as HTTP, BGP, no? Among others. But don't worry guys, because ito rin, i-discuss din naman ito when you start working on now with the content. Okay? So other learning outcomes would now be focusing on SDN and NFV. So we're going to look at it now on the bigger picture. Define what is virtualization. It states its benefits in computing. Define what is network functions virtualization. Describe the relationship between SDN and NFV, because there is a relationship between SDN and NFV. So for those who are working in the industry, or you may have already heard of it, you may have heard some providers, both operators and providers rather, coin the term SDN NFV. Okay? Normally they are coined as one terminology, but in theory and in practice, sometimes you can just use SDN, sometimes you can just use NFV, sometimes you can use both. And we'll also discuss it here in the module in our course. And finally, state different use cases where NFV will be used. Majority of use cases that we have right now are applied in the telco environment, meaning that network functions virtualization as a technology is primarily used in the telco space, meaning it is used to virtualize traditional hardware, typically enclosed in boxes that are dedicated to a specific vendor, no? But it cannot be repurposed. When we transition to NFV, apologies, excuse me. When we transition already to NFV, those physical boxes would then be repurposed using servers. Okay, so just to give you a quick glimpse on what is the technology is about. But for you to do that, you need another supporting technology, which is virtualization. Okay, so this is the course itself. This is our one slider. I'll now proceed to share with you what you should be expecting to see in the Learning Hub once you've already started. No? Now, all in all, we have a total of 8 modules. My apologies. Are you currently seeing yung SimWorld Learning Hub?
Yes.
Kita po ba siya? Okay, thank you po. So, estimated time of completion for this course. So this is a total of 14 hours. Okay? Take note, this is just an estimate. You can actually drill this down further if you're able to finish up everything. No? But I'll give you a run through of all of the different parts. Now, you'll notice that here in Module 0, this is just our syllabus. So you can download a copy of this if you want, no, so that you also have a reference point. If you try to look at this PDF, by the way, no, all of the resources that we have here are available for you guys to download on, especially yung mga PowerPoint slides natin. So for each of the modules, there is a PowerPoint. There is also a short quiz, as well as some video YouTube clips that you can also watch in advance. Okay, now I'll continue here. So for module 0, this would just give you a copy of the syllabus in itself. You'll see here, what I have presented just a while ago is just a congested or a shortened version of the syllabus. But if you want a detailed version of the syllabus, meaning you want to know the different topics for each of the modules, as well as the different activities that you'll be performing, you can download the copy here. Okay, next. For the succeeding parts, so all of the modules that I have discussed from modules 1 to 8 are found here. Notice that for module 1 and for module 2, both of them are split into 2 parts. So module 1 has module 1A, which is an overview on IP networking. So what Noel has provided to you a while ago is just a glimpse on what IP networking is about. So if you, in this specific module, he would now dive deeper here on what are WANs, what are LANs, what is the internet, what is IP networking, no? So just check this one out. And having said that, IP networking is covered in module 1B. Okay, so here you'll be discussing what is IP version 4, how do you partition IP addresses, what are its different parts, what is an IP address and its different classes, as well as how do you, or what makes what is an IP address and what is a subnet mask. So all of the fundamentals that you need to learn about IP addressing is found in 1B. Okay, both 1A and 1B, they have respective modules in PDF form that you can download, as well as some video resources that you can also watch. Okay, now for these two as well, you have here activities. These are short quizzes for you guys to test on. So similar to the other course or similar to the previous course, these are short activities just for us to gauge your level of understanding for that specific module. Okay. And by the way, now all of the modules here are self-paced, meaning that within the given deadline, you can take this in whatever pace that you have. If you want to take 2 modules per day or 1 module per day, it's fine for you guys. And similar also to the previous module, at the end of the module, no, you'll be given a certificate of completion. Okay. So now I'll go now to module 2A and module 2B. Here, we'll be discussing SDN, okay? Software-defined networking, but in 2 different perspectives. In the first one, module 2A, we'll be discussing SDN in the enterprise perspective, okay? In the IP perspective, specifically SD1, okay? So you have here your slides. You also have here a video clip that you can watch on. Actually, the video clip shown here, one is an overview of what SDN is in the SDN1 use case. SDN1 stands for SDN Wireless Area Network. So how it is defined in detail is for you guys to discover in the modules. Okay. Another one is actually one of the available solutions in the market nowadays. So SD1 as a technology, it is being offered by several vendor providers. One of them is in fact Cisco. And they are being offered in one of their products called vManage. And we've included here a video clip. This is 20 minutes now for you guys to have at least a taste of what SDN1 is from Cisco's perspective. Now, take note that just because we've included here Cisco doesn't mean that this is already the de facto. Not everybody is using Cisco, but the objective here is at least you get an understanding of, okay, so you have a baseline on what Cisco is offering. How will it compare to other offerings made by other vendors? Okay, so it's just an opening, it's just giving you guys a gateway of sorts to further explore other solutions offered by different vendors. Okay, so this is 2A. No? For 2B, we'll now discuss the other side of SDN, this time applied in the telco space. So dito, we'll now define what is SDN in the telco environment, because there is a difference between SDN used in IT versus SDN used in the telco space. Okay, there are some subtle differences, and that is for you guys to learn here. Nandito siya in your modules, and we've also included here a 5-minute video clip for us to define what is SDN. Okay, in general muna. Okay, so there. Now, after that, module 3 would then discuss OpenFlow. Okay, OpenFlow, as I've mentioned a while ago, is a protocol that is primarily used, one of the protocols used for SDN. It is configured both in the controller and in the forwarding switches. Now, you may be asking, ano nga ba ang controller and forwarding switches? You would learn that in module 2. Okay? Now, in module 3, it would discuss here what is OpenFlow as a protocol. It would also discuss how it is being used by the controllers and forwarding switches, as well as the different logical components on how an OpenFlow packet is being processed by both the controller and the forwarding switch, but more emphasis on the controller itself. Okay? So in module 4, we'll now zoom out a bit from OpenFlow and SDN. We'll now discuss here the different real-life situations and use cases where SDN is used both in telco and in enterprise. Okay? Kasi despite having two umbrellas, no, it still has further specialized use cases. Okay, so marami pa po siya, in fact, ng mga use cases, and that will be discussed in detail for this module. Okay, now, video clips wise, we've included here also specific use case applied by NEC America naman this time. So we've included here 3 use cases: an introduction, OpenFlow scalability, and network monitoring. But this is just a few of the several available nowadays. So arguably, we can say that SDN is flexible enough to be used across different use cases. No, not just it is not just used for yes, it is used for packet forwarding, but we're not just limited to just processing packets. If you know what I mean here, okay? It is used also in other environments. Let's put it that. Okay. So that is for module 4. Now in module 5, we'll step out a bit on software-defined networking, okay, which focused more on the transport part, and then we'll now introduce to you another concept of virtualization. Okay, virtualization in itself is already a topic on its own. No? There are some solutions, take note, that use virtualization to implement SDN, but not always. Okay. Now, in module 5, what will be discussed here is the technology in general. There are different types of virtualization available for us to use, but the one that we'll be focusing here more on is compute virtualization. In fact, no, yun yung i-discuss din also in this module. No? What are the different types of virtualization technologies available to us now? Actually, no, there is, if I can recall, there are a total of 10 virtualization technologies available. One of them is compute virtualization. No? And the one that is supporting SDN is network virtualization. Okay? So, madami pa siya. So, consider it that for each of the different resources that you have in the computer system, chances are there is a virtualization counterpart for it. Meaning you can virtualize an application, you can virtualize storage, you can virtualize a switch, no? You can virtualize a server, which is the focus of this module, among others. Okay? So yun yung i-discuss dito. Now, for the available video clips here, consider this as sort of like a supplementary to the main module. No? We've included here IBM technologies videos on what is virtualization as well as what is a hypervisor. So kanina in the pre-test, no, one of the questions there is um, what is the software responsible for implementing virtualization? The answer there is of course the hypervisor or the virtual machine monitor. So will that will be further discussed in this video clip. What does it mean about when we try to virtualize something? What does it mean in the hardware part and in the software part? So these are questions that would be answered in this module. Okay, so next, for module 6, again, we zoom out. So pansinin nyo yung you'll notice that the pattern of our modules here, no? We first dive in one module, we discuss the related technology, and then the preceding module after that, or proceeding module after that, we zoom out on a more bigger perspective. So module 6 could be considered as the zoomed out version of module 5. We'll now consider virtualization in a bigger perspective, specifically NFV. Okay, so for this module, we'll discuss the NFV architecture in general, its different components. You may have already encountered that one question in the pretest as well. You've seen an architecture there. So that is the NFV architecture. It was developed by Etsy. And that would be discussed in detail, its different components and different parts, no, in this module. We would also be discussing where where SDN plays a role in an NFV architecture because it has a role there also. Again, no, babalik ako dun sa terminology ko a while ago that the term SD and NFV are most of the time coined as one. And we would now understand why are they coined as one. How are they interrelated with each other? Okay? So for video clips for your watching, no, you will be included here two use cases again. You'll notice here we have one about Telefonica. So they would explain to us briefly what is NFV from their perspective. And we've also included here another video clip from Sienna Corp. And we'll get to listen to what is their perspective of NFV. Although NFV is a standardized architecture, depending on who uses it and depending also on the workload that you want to implement inside of it, there are different definitions on how it is being used. Right? So don't worry if it's a bit complex, no, in terms of the architecture, but again, we'll be discussing this in the module. No? And the reason why we've also included here video clips for you guys to watch on is because I want you guys to have a much broader perspective on these technologies in itself. No? Sometimes we get to constrain on a textbook definition that we immediately dismiss something to be wrong if we see it from a different angle. So yun yung parang gusto kong baguhin din dito on why we include these different use cases. No? And we include it from different lenses. Now, for module 7, again, we'll now be discussing here different use cases for both SDN and NFV working together. There are a lot of standard compliant use cases available. So by that, I mean that in the standards alone developed by Etsy, they have different use cases where you can combine SDN and NFV. But for this module, I'll just be focusing on the most commonly used available in the industry nowadays. Okay, and included that also, I've attached here. No, this is now not just a video clip but a webinar provided by by Sienna Corp, no, essentials for SDN and NFV for service providers. So they will be discussing here what are the best practices in using these two technologies in the telco space. Actually, not just even in the telco space, no? Even in IT providers. That's why they use the term service providers, because you can provide service in the form of, say, bandwidth, like what a telco would do, or in the form of an application service, like what an IT company would do. Okay? Then in the last portion, we'll focus now more on, again, drive another use case for SDN NFV, which is core network and evolution. Now, this would give you an introductory course on what the core network is, no? And how it plays out to your Open RAN environment. Specifically, we'll have here, well, it's not really much on the theories of core network evolution per se, but I'll be requiring you guys to read on a research paper and for you guys to have an understanding, no, in a real life scenario on how it is being applied in a core network perspective. I hope that makes sense. No? So all in all, no, you have, although we have a total of 8 modules all in all, what we do have right now is 8, 10 modules kasi si module 1 at saka si module 2 are split into part A and part B. Okay? Okay, so once you download our syllabus, no, so this is similar to what is available, the format and the requirements are similar to the previous course. So this module, or sorry, this course would consist of your online discussions, no, assigned readings, pre-recorded videos or links to videos. In our module, we'll focus really more on different use cases. No? So an analysis of use cases applied by different companies, how they also view SDN, NFV, and OpenFlow based on their perspectives. No? For you guys to have an understanding that despite having a core definition, it still depends on how these technologies are applied by companies and their specific use case. Now, apart from pre-recordings and videos, we also have online discussions, online quizzes, online exams, and simulation exercises. Okay, so more of that one later. Now, for module 1 and module 1A and 1B, we have here our formative assessments. So you'll notice that in your learning hub, you'll see there that you have quizzes, short quizzes for you guys to take on. No? Just keep in mind that for module 1, after you have already completed module 1B, you have a long quiz for you guys to take. Wait. My apologies. It is... Okay, so yung long quiz niyo would come in after you've completed module 2A, which is net SDN basics for SD1. Okay, so ito yung covering po niya dito. So for module 1 and module 2, you have your short quizzes and also your long quiz. Okay, you have a total of 2 long quizzes to take. One is in module 2 and one is in after you've completed module 8. Okay? But across all of the modules, you either have short quiz or a lab activity. Okay? Now, for module 2, you have a short quiz followed by a long quiz. For module 3, you have a short quiz to take. Also for module 4. For module 5, you'll have a simulation, okay, or a lab activity. Okay. Now, arguably, no, because of the available tools that we have already nowadays, we can now implement, or for you guys to really have an understanding on what virtualization and what OpenFlow is as technologies. It is better also for you guys to practice on. Sabi nga nila, you learn by doing. No? And we started off here at module 5. So in module 5, let me just open the lab simulation here. Okay. You'll be provided with a tutorial on how to install VirtualBox. Okay. So if you have checked yung module in your learning hub, you have there a lab simulation activity and your learning materials. If you access yung lab simulation activity there, you'll be given a step-by-step instruction on how to install VirtualBox in your local machine. So we preferred or we've chosen to use VirtualBox here is because we want you guys to have an understanding or for you guys to experience having your own hypervisor in your own machine. Okay. So I encourage you also that if you install this either in your desktop or in your laptop. Okay. Now, you don't, although what's included in the course is the entirety of the VirtualBox tutorial. What I want you guys only to focus on is to create your own virtual machine, okay, in VirtualBox. Okay. Once you access already the lab simulation section of that module, no, you'll also be provided with instructions on which specific output you have to produce. No, take a screenshot of it, and that will be submitted as your quiz of sorts. So think of it na parang itong lab activity natin na you have a lab report, you take a screenshot of the expected output, and then you place that output or you place those screenshots in a Word file, no, but export it as PDF. The PDF would then be submitted in your Learning Hub. So that would be the one to be graded and scored. Okay? So, this is what's included. So, ang objective lang natin dito is for you guys to experience how to work on with hypervisor, how to install a hypervisor in your machine, in your local machine, and how to create a virtual machine instance. Okay, so that is module 5. Then module 6 would be a short quiz again. So this time this is about NFV. Then for module 7, although the discussion here is SDN NFV use cases, we've included that for your assessment of simulation activity you'll be having instead of a quiz. Okay. Now, for module 7 this time, the simulation activity you'll be performing is how do you now install Mininet in your environment. Now, there's a reason why we first introduced to you VirtualBox before Mininet. It's because you need VirtualBox to be installed first before you can work on with Mininet. So what you have already learned in module 5 is built up on when you work on in module 7. Okay, so in the learning, you'll be provided again with sets of instructions on how to install Mininet. This time, no, before you can even create an SDN environment using Mininet, you'll need to first create a virtual machine instance that would host that SDN environment. So you see the relationship there, no? Now, create the instance first where the SDN environment would then reside on. Okay? So similar also to module 5, no? You'll be given instructions to which screenshots to take. So perform the activities indicated in the lab material, and hopefully by the end of the expected output of this learning simulation or activity lab simulation is for you guys to have a working small scale SDN environment in your desktop. Okay, so just follow these instructions. So actually, no, this already includes also how do you set up a small network, how do you interact with the network, how do you test if that given network is operating, no? So just follow these step-by-step instructions, no? And similar to module 5, take a screenshot, place it in Word document file, export it as PDF, and that would be the one submitted and scored. Okay, so right now in general, we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 short quizzes, 2 lab activities. Okay, and that leaves us with the last module, module 8, which is a research paper critique. Okay, now module 8 in itself, it doesn't have learning topics discussed per se. Okay, but you would be required to read a research paper. So let me open it up here. Okay. So the objective for module 8 is for you guys to, if not yet, no, for you guys to read on a given research paper and provide an analysis based on the research paper. Okay. So this is the one that we have selected because this is the research paper, no, provided in IEEE. So definitely this has inputs from the industry, no, and research and development. And essentially, this is just a survey, no, of different SDN NFV use cases applied in the mobile packet core. Okay. Now, instructions for how to create a research critique, no, would also be provided in the module itself. Okay, so actually, if you all of the modules would be presented, or the learning materials presented there would look something like this. No? But specifically for module 8, no, you'll be provided here some instructions on how you can read the research paper and how to formulate your critique. Now, if you haven't yet created your critique just yet, or you don't know how to start, no, it provided here also some guide questions. No? Essentially, the critique paper only contains 3 sections, no? As much as possible, condense this to be only 1 page. And each of those sections should be able to answer these questions. This is just a guide for you. But if you have your own method on how to write a critique, no, you can also follow that. Essentially, ang objective natin for the last module is for you guys to already apply what you have learned from modules 1 to 7 and apply it in a way that you now analyze an existing research and get feedback on it. What's your opinion based on this research, based from what you have learned from the given course? Okay, so that covers the entirety of the module. So ang assessments ninyo, 5 short quizzes, 2 learning simulations, 2 long quizzes, 1 research paper critique. Okay? So this is everything already, no? And of course, all of these would be graded, no? Submissions of your critique and your quizzes would be via Learning Hub. Okay? So there would be provided links wherein for specifically also, no, for the lab activity and for the research paper critique, no, there would be available links where you can upload the file and submit it. Okay, you are allowed up to 3 attempts to submit. While for short quizzes, I believe you have, I think, 3 attempts also. But for the long quizzes, you only have 1 attempt. Okay? So keep those in mind. And of course, if you've completed everything, you'll be presented with a certificate of completion. No? And I think also you also have a completion badge written at the status.